congrats on the show.
Thanks very
really
much.
Great.
Thank you.
So for those who are debating coming or not, or whatever, what do you, what's your show about?
Well, a couple of years ago I did a show called An Hour, which was so that I could answer that question by going, it's about an hour. Because I think most comedians, there are two strands of Edinburgh shows, ones which are about things and ones which are not about things. And I always try to write a show that isn't about anything. And it always ends up being about something. So the thing that this is sort of secretly about is, I came up with this phrase, I'm happy, but it hurts. Like, I'm happier than I've ever been in my life, but my life is harder than it's ever been. I have a baby, and I'm learning to live with a brilliant, brilliant wife who we haven't, as you saw, we haven't lived together with each other for very long before having a baby and getting married and making the relationship permanent. And so I have been, all through the writing of it, was writing stupid jokes about frogs and drones and vegetables and stuff. The sort of underlying thing that's been going on in my life is I've kind of learned this weird relationship that I've got now with anger and frustration, being a dad and having to cope with all of those things. This isn't a very good elevator pitch, but I haven't had to do many elevator pitches, so it's not very succinct. But basically, it doesn't matter what it's about. It doesn't matter what it's about. I think people are coming to see it anyway, which is nice. I could always use more people, but it's pretty full. And I think what I tend to do as a comic is get people to trust me, be funny, be engaging, get them caught up in my life and my preoccupations, and then towards the end of the show, you know, there's this cliche of the sort of the lull at 40 minutes or the emotional punch at 40 minutes. I think that's there for a reason, but what I then tend to do is kind of bring them with me on whatever emotional journey I'm currently undergoing. So you can see all of my shows like that. The first one was about realising that I'm actually quite a boring person. I was making lots of efforts to be really exciting, in fetish clubs, and I was in the circus as a kid and stuff like that, or as a teenager. And I've made all these efforts in my life to be exciting, and it was about accepting that I'm actually quite a reasonable person. So that was the first one. The second one was about anxiety. It's called Another Lovely Crisis. The third one was about sort of sexual jealousy, and that was called Prick. The fourth one was called Extra Life, and it was about me desperately wanting to have a baby. And the fifth one was called, I mean, it'd be good if I remembered it, the fifth one was called An Hour. That was about breaking up with my partner and the world falling apart and then getting back together at the last minute. Then last year was about making a big sacrifice, leaving London and having a baby. And this one is about coping with parenthood. It's great with me, you only have to ask one question. Really? Just keep talking. Yeah, so really, I mean, on the last three, before this one, the last three, I felt like, oh, I've accidentally created a triptych. And now it's like, oh, it's a quadruped. I don't know what it is. But every year I try to not write a show about anything. Every year I try to write a show that is just a load of stupid jokes. And I'm getting better at that being the bulk of the show. But there always ends up being something for me just because that's who I am. Something about, something I'm working through. And it does work, I am happy. So, yes, it's working.
Have you, does it become your favourite show each year? Or do you have a show that you
really
kind of
does.
cover?
It really does. Well, I think last year's show was the tour show and the Edinburgh show was, it was a good show. There were some good chunky bits in it, and they get more honest every year. So An Hour was a really exciting show for me because I'd just signed with a new agent and I'd worked really hard. I'd expected to take a year off and I hadn't. I was, oh God, I'm with someone new and I've got to impress them and I've got to go for it. Yeah, and I was all invigorated. And I worked really hard on that show. And it was also, crucially, the last show that I wrote when I had the time to write a show because I wasn't a parent. And that, now, looking back at it, there's some good, chunky, punchy bits of stand-up. And I managed at the last minute to weave a thing together. And went, yeah, that's what that's about. Oh, that is what that's about. The following show, I was like, no, this is more honest, man. And this one is like, this is more honest. So I'm getting closer to whatever the thing is. So whilst the shows slightly fix me psychologically, and also make a lot of people laugh, but that's, you know, I kind of take that's the minimum I expect. It's got to make me laugh, I've got to make everyone laugh. Fine. So now what does it do? It slightly fixes me psychologically, and it also get better at being direct and being honest. And so my favourite moments in this show are things like the silliness of pretending to be the little bomb disposal robot, and also the sense of being sort of admiring how humble he is and wanting to be dutiful and humble and self-sacrificing. So for me, that's like a really good motif of the show. It's a really dumb joke, where the big punchline I just accidentally said on stage, and I constructed a whole routine to be able to ensure I could get back there again, which is about a bomb disposal robot sitting in a robot bar next to some drones and thinking the drones are like city boys, going, see that Nespresso? I've fucked her. And that, I'm sorry, we're in a grave rock, there we are. And that idea of a drone showing off about fucking an Nespresso coffee maker, that's a funny, stupid idea that I love. But then also it sort of ended up being this thing that is actually about a thing, and I'm really proud of that. So there's a lot of things like that in the sushi.
What I've been asking everyone I've spoken to is if they have a favourite thing that's happened to them, or something they've seen, something, a memory that's really stuck out, all the Edinburghs you've ever been to.
24 Edinburghs, right? This is my 24th Edinburgh. Oh man, there are so many. I've grown up here. This city is like coming back to college every year. It's like coming back to the playground. The swings are fractionally smaller again. And I've been a teenager here in a cast where all the, you know, the kind of young people's drama group, everyone's trying to get off with each other. And then I've been a street performer here, and I helped John Feely stop a riot when Simon Munnery was getting arrested during Arthur Smith's alternative walk of the Royal Mile, and I was like, what was I, 22? And I was like, this is the greatest moment of my life. And I've also done, oh God, I've done comedy stuff. I got to the finals of So You Think You're Funny. That really was really meaningful to me. And then last night I hosted a heat of So You Think You're Funny, where for the first time, I've been getting there, for the first time I genuinely didn't give a fuck on stage. So doing the bit where the judges are deliberating, I was just dicking about. And I remember seeing Dave Johns do that in my heat 12 years ago, whatever it was. So that's very satisfying. But honestly, everything about being here, once a year I walk around the boundaries of the main bit of Edinburgh with my friend Herbie Treehead, who's a clown friend of mine. And we do that little tradition every year. On the last night every year I have a cocktail with my mate Vince. There's so much of it is just in me and of me, and I couldn't possibly point to a single memory.
And have you got a favourite place? Go-to place that when you're up there you have to?
Well, I can see it from here. Do you see the top? Do you want to swing the camera around? Do you see the top of that? That is the top of the museum, and it has a roof garden cafe. No one knows about it, and it's free. And you can go in from the main door. You know, it looks like a sort of. I always think it looks like a kind of Klingon embassy. You know, it's a fun-shaped building. And you can go in there and go coffee, and suddenly you're outside of the city. The view's incredible in every direction, and you can look down, and the festival's happening around you, and you just go blip, and you're out of it. And that's beautiful.